Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 10th Turf Club meeting for the fall of 2020. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kyle Masters, and I'm the president of the Penn State Turfgrass Club. And happy Election Day, everybody. And tonight we have a special guest, Mr. Ross Miller from the Country Club of Detroit. And Ross will be talking to us about interviewing success today. So thank you again for joining us, Ross. I know you were here last year, so I'm glad that you could come back.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate being here. Obviously, different circumstances, to put it mildly, this year with COVID. Hope everyone's staying safe and sound, as well as your extended families as well. As Kyle alluded to, gonna go through some different items in regards to interviewing, preparing you for your future, whether it be an internship interview, an assistance interview, or when you get to that stage, superintendent interviewing. Different tips and tricks, some common sense items, some low-hanging fruit to attack to help separate yourself from others, and just kind of how an evolution of how some of these things I've seen work, things that don't work, some horror stories for a little bit of comic relief. I'm sure Dr. Kaminsky, you and I have talked with some of these on sidebar, but there's always some good things to learn from a bad situation. So just kind of getting into it, my background, as Kyle said, I'm superintendent of the Country Club of Detroit. This is finishing up my 7th season here. Before that, I was with the Trump organization, Trump National DC. Before that, was with private club outside of Columbus, Ohio, Double Eagle Club. I spent several years there with a fellow Penn State alum, Todd Voss, cutting my teeth there. So it sounds sick, sadistic, twisted. I truly enjoy the interviewing process. I think there's a lot to learn from different interview processes, to learn about people, to learn about social interaction skills, and how you can set yourself up for success in that. I gained a passion for it in addition to within the turf industry. Again, who I interned under and worked under in Columbus, Todd Voss. Fortunate, my mother-in-law is a retired CFO of a large healthcare conglomerate in the country. And my father, he's a retired HR director slash, he was a consultant negotiating union contracts for large corporations around the country. So had a lot of human resource and background sources to develop from this. I also spent time working with different industry headhunters, Tim Morgan, Dick Hyde, Randy Vandervate, and some of you may even know Armin Sooney. He's a Penn Stater, pretty much the superintendent search guru now for Copland, Keebler, and Wallace, who's one of the big superintendent search firms in the country. And I learned a great deal from all of these different sources, as well as interviewing for assistants, for interns, and my present position, past positions, as well as fellow industry counterparts, and kind of formulated some core principles on what can help you in any interview process, not just turf related. So kind of the 3 main goals for today. We're going to outline some positive and negative aspects for your resumes and cover letters. I know Dr. Kaminsky goes through a fair bit with all the 2-year turf students. We're going to go through a few additional items there, and some goods and bads. Always at the end of everything, questions are welcome. Thoughts are welcome. Different thoughts, never a bad thought at all. So your whole goal with your resumes and cover letters, what's going to catch someone's eye? And not just someone. You want to catch the person or the people that are making the decisions for your position you're interviewing for, whether it's your internship, an assistant position, or a superintendent position. How are you going to tailor that? How are you going to put yourself in the first pile, the yes pile, and then go from there? And interviewing. You're creating a success plan for yourself. Many superintendents, myself included, are big on standard operating procedures. Do the same exact thing with how you're going to prepare for an interview, committee selection committees, or the superintendent you're interviewing with, or the assistants you're interviewing with, and different thoughts and ideas on within the interview there. And most importantly, be excited about it. Enjoy it. It's um, you see numerous websites, this and that, and everyone's always like, "Oh, it's a stressful time, stressful time." No, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be stressful at all. It should be exciting and a lot of fun because look, if someone's interviewing you, they're interested. You're the one that controls the cards there. You control the interview, you control the dialogue. So put the cards in your favor instead of being defensive in an interview process. Some simple things with whatever you do, um, whether it be for an internship, again, an assistant position or superintendent's position. Have a personalized professional voicemail message. Don't make a voicemail after you were out with your friends all night on Saturday night and make a voicemail recording at 10 a.m. Sunday morning. Don't do that. Take the time and listen to it. Don't just hear the message you put forth there. Make sure it's personalized, it's professional, and it's positive. Those are just simple little things that sometimes can be a plus or a minus in regards to someone if they call you to set up an interview. Use your network. You guys.
Hey Ross, can I interrupt for a second?
Shoot.
I was just going to
Go
say
ahead,
another
Doc.
thing too. I usually do this in class, and I always like tell a student to give me their cell phone, and I call, and then they put it on speaker and play their voicemail. Another thing that I find as it relates to voicemail, some people never set their voicemail up, and you can't leave a message, and that's like the instant killer, right? Like, so if they can't leave a message, then they're done. They're just moved on to the next person.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Doc. Perfect example is just this year. I had 2 intern applicants, and exactly that. Resumes looked great. Didn't have the voicemail box set up. I'm not wasting my time sending you a text or anything else. Get your ducks in a row. Get yourself ready for your future. You're investing in yourself and your future by an extremely high quality education. Do the things on your end that help put that education to work. Using your network at like kind of as you progress in the industry, you're going to create more and more contacts and people within the industry. Whatever club it's at, sales representatives, fellow superintendents, for everyone on here, your fellow students, fellow assistants. As you progress into that level, you've got a network of a lot of people that you've come into contact with, and it's even easier to network now in these time frames as opposed to like when Dr. Kaminsky and I came out of school. So there's a lot of opportunities there to market yourself, make yourself known to not just anyone in the turf side. Get to know golf pros, GMs, chefs. There's pretty much probably the last 5 general managers I've worked with, still keep in contact with, probably still email 4 or 5 times a year, just seeing how families are doing, this or that. Golf pros, it really helps to see the other side of the business instead of people thinking, oh, golf pros are shirt folders, this or that. And I can say that because there is a stigma there, and there's a stigma with golf pros to our side of the business. Break down those walls. Make that person that you think that is notoriously an enemy, an ally. And I can say that because my wife is a former tour pro and was a former director of instruction. So we had a lot of these conversations to see things from both sides of the aisle, and it taught me a great deal. So make those contacts with people. If you're fortunate enough to be at a facility where you're doing renovation work or anything, get to know those architects. Getting to know those architects is huge because those architects are so dialed in. Probably one of the biggest things as you move into an assistance role, is get to know members at the clubs you're at. Getting to know those is huge because those members are tied in everywhere, and they take a liking to you. They know that you're doing a good job, and your superintendent, director of agronomy you're working for, talks about how valuable and how driven you are. They will move heaven and earth and get you the interview that you want. Now you get into like my position, you have to tread lightly. You have to tread lightly when you get into superintendent's positions, because members seeing and knowing that you're going after other positions, it can be very challenging there. You're creating waves that necessarily you don't want to. So you got to be very cautious there. One of my big staples I go through with like my assistants, because they're both interviewing for superintendent's positions. And this is with, if you're going for an intern position, an assistant position, anything, show that you are driven, that you have your act together, have your ducks in a row, you're extremely organized. You see a position open that is you have interest in, apply within 48 hours of that posting. That shows that you have the aptitude and you have the organizational skills with your documents and everything to do that, to go after that. You're going after that position. You are really focused on that position. That is crucial. And even more so as you move up the ladder. One of the big things here, Dr. Kaminsky, you can probably chime in on this. This is one that grinds on me. I've really enforced it into all my interns and assistants, past assistants, is references. If you're applying for positions and that position asks for references, let your references know that you have applied for a position. And first of all, don't just let them know before you even do anything. Ask if it is okay to have them as a reference. People do not like getting blindsided about things. 99% of the time, people are more than happy to help you out. More than happy to help you out. But don't just put someone down as a reference and they don't know. And make sure all of their details are correct, their email address, their phone number. I've had 2 intern candidates, one last year, one 3 years ago, had someone as a reference. They did not know they were a reference for that person. And each one of them did not have a complete phone number or a complete email address for that person. So right away for me, even though I went through the interview process with that candidate, following up on their references. When I got their references after requesting them, I got that, they're instantly, I call them right back and just say, hey, look, sorry, appreciate the interview. You're not gonna be a fit here, but some guidance for your future. Make sure these are done correctly, because these are the details. It's very simple, very easy to address, and very easy to stay on top of to help separate yourself. Again, being organized. Cover letters, kind of something to some people and some organizations that are a thing of the past. I think they are very valuable because there can be that one person wherever you're interviewing, whether it be a superintendent, whether it be a selection committee, whether it be an assistant when you're interviewing for an intern position. That one person can key in on that. That can make or break you. And the biggest thing with the cover letter, you've got 20 to 30 seconds at most to make an impression. Same with your resume, but even more so with your cover letters. It's going to be an even shorter time frame. Make a statement. Don't just write out, hi, I'm applying for this job. I saw it on TurfNet or GCSAA or so on and so forth. No, make a statement of why you are qualified, why you're the only selection for that position. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is my experience. This is what I can do. This is how I fit this position to a T. Make a statement. Another thing I've seen before, it goes right in the trash can for me. If you're working at a club, Don't use the stationery of that club. Do not do that. Make your own. Create your own stationery so you have something between your cover letter, your resume, and your references that has your name, your address, your email address, your cell phone number. Create your own kind of letterhead. Do something unique. It takes all of 10 seconds to do. Create something about you. People will see if it's a club that you're very proud of that you've worked at, great. They'll see that in your resume. You do it on the stationery of the club, it's not very professional. Another simple low-hanging fruit item, whether it be cover letters, resumes, all of them. Word documents, convert them to a PDF. You could have all sorts of different versions of Word, and your margins can get all screwed up, and then it won't be formatted correctly, and it'll be really tough. Convert those documents to a PDF always. It simplifies things, and it eliminates any of those challenges there. Next thing I have up here, naming your documents. This is one, probably 90% of the resumes I get, it just, someone writes a 2-sentence in an email, and then it just has cover letter .doc or .pdf and resume .doc or .pdf. No, if I'm getting resumes for something, I want to know who it is. I don't want to take the time to have to separate for each person. Again, this is being organized and separating yourself. Put your last name first, comma, your first name, dash, cover letter. Last name first, comma, first name, dash, resume. Separate, shows you're extremely organized. So when that person likes what they see and put you in the yes pile, they're like, oh yeah, Ross Miller or Kyle Masters or Landon Hall. Okay, where's their docs? Here. And they want to share them with someone else, email them over. Hey, check this individual out. They really caught my eye on paper here. Something simple. It separates you, shows your organizational skills. Whatever you do, your cover letters, do not drone on. Again, you want to make a statement. Make a statement and get to the point. It should be at most 3 paragraphs, probably even a hair shorter, but get to the point of why you are the selection there. And then they'll move over to your resume, but get to the point. It's a form of communication. Everything you're doing here is a form of communicating. You want to show your communication skills and core values. Do not BS them. Be honest about them. We see this on a large scale on a number of things, and especially like Kyle brought up, it's election day, about honesty in everything we do. And this is job one, especially in these times with everything available on the internet. Be honest. If someone's not, they're going to find out. Perfect example, kind of a horror story, but it was a good thing we caught. We had an individual 2 years ago that applied for a seasonal assistant in training position. Went through their resume, interview, spot on, exactly what I wanted to hear. Because we do a lot of psychological work in our interview processes. We want to see someone that thinks of others before themselves and things of that nature. Everything checked out really well. We started digging into their social media, any of those things, brought up their Facebook page. Right on their cover photo was a picture of them with both middle fingers up. Right away, called the individual, said thanks, but no thanks. But just FYI, here's why. And the individual was very embarrassed. And I said, look, I understand you're embarrassed, but we're telling you this to help you for your future. You're creating an image of yourself, and this is hard to move past. So some things to look at. Here I just have a golf course overview of a job position. A little bit here, a lot of it got cut off, unfortunately. My apologies there. But it was just a job opening from a couple years ago here in Michigan. When you look at job openings, look at key things. What do they mention? If a club has renovation, that they're doing renovation work, They have that in there 2-3 times in there. They have communication items in there 2 or 3 times. What they're trying to do is they're trying to subliminally tell you those are the 2 huge things they're trying to key on. They want someone that is a fluid communicator and has renovation/construction background. Tailor your cover letter to that. Tailor it to that. You have to be able to read those kind of things and read between the lines of exactly what they're going after. And a lot of times go through those job postings, read through it 3, 4, 5 times. So you get to know it front to back, back to front. That can tell you a great deal. Moving from there into your resumes, kind of the same thing. You want to tailor it to what the job posting is. I'll go through that a little bit more here in the future, but pet peeve of mine is you're applying for a position. Again, you get 20 to 30 seconds to make an impression. You want to make an impression. They want to know where you're at. Whoever you're interviewing with, they want to know where you're at right now. Start with your most recent experience, where you're at presently, and then move back. And you want to highlight the 2 most recent positions because those are what's going to be most pertinent to the position where you're applying. How are they pertinent to that position? How does that experience you have help this fit this club, this operation, and is it a fit for you? If you see there's a fit there and what you're looking to gain, Landon, you brought up a few things before we started on here, some things you're looking at for possible interviews. And there's a few key principles of what you're looking for. Those are the things you want to gear towards. When you go through, because you guys are at an awesome time frame where there's more jobs than there are people to fill them. So you guys have the opportunity to be selectful. Look at the positions, what you're looking for. Are you looking for bent grass experience? Are you looking for warm season experience? Are you looking for construction experience? Are you looking for high play volume experience? Whatever it may be. There's a myriad of things that you can look into with positions, but look through those positions and then you find ones that you're interested in, apply for them, and tailor your resume, some of your work highlights that are honest. Don't be dishonest with them again, and your cover letter to those. Again, like I went through with cover letters, documents, convert them to PDFs and name them correctly. It's a big pet peeve, not just mine, most anyone doing interviews. And again, I just said it again up there with work experience, be honest about your core values and your skills and qualifications. With the majority of everyone on here making the step into being an intern or being an assistant, you're going to be, most employers are going to not expect you to know everything. You're going to need to operate at a high level, but at the same time, employers are going to want to teach you and want to help groom you for your future and your well-being. So the skills and qualifications, even if you don't check every one of 80 boxes, there's things they're like, okay, we can help mold this individual with that. That's okay. They're going to be focusing on a few core concepts with skills and qualifications, but you make sure you be honest about them. Again, who you're talking to with your positional highlights. This is more geared for when you go to interviewing for a superintendent's position, but keep this in mind when you get down that road is most clubs don't like renovation. They don't like construction. So that may be a key part of your history. Like me personally, I have a large bit of construction background. Didn't actively mention that here when I interviewed here at CCD, but at the same time, let them bring it up. If they bring it up, okay, then have that discussion. You can mention it that you have that. That's one of your key facets and ideals, but don't make it your forefront thing unless the job posting is coming up that they want someone with renovation construction. Okay, then you make that one of your key facets. Okay, some things to think about. And again, resumes, cover letters, you got 30 seconds at most to make an impression, probably less. So make that count. Make sure everything's formatted correctly. Draw an eye to things. Okay. Again, to that point.
I just had a question really quick. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Go ahead, Kyle.
I was just wondering, like, when do you think it's appropriate to include maybe a portfolio of pictures or projects, you know, that you've been a part of? And like, I know like for like maybe going for an internship, you know, having a portfolio isn't probably ideal just because you're starting your first internship, but like going into a AIT position or assistance position, do you think it's important to start collecting photos for that?
Absolutely. Everyone on here should be doing that ad nauseum. Our AITs that we have here and interns that we have here, I pretty much sit down with them at the end of the summer and I want to see that they've got at least 200-300 pictures on their phones, and we go through them. And we kind of go through whether it's an irrigation project or we do in-house bunker construction here. So, okay, we go through their pictures of it, and I want them to walk me through the process again through the pictures of the who, what, when, or why. So having those portfolios, that is key. I definitely think that is definitely never anything that's going to hurt you. Again, it comes down to organization, though. Making sure you have that organized, have something built out like a flip book or something like that, where you can include that very easily with your application for a position. Something of that nature, that is very key. Kind of going off of what I was saying here, get to the point. Being, I have my resume here. Just some of the things. Again, there's a million ways to think, good or bad. One of the things resumes people used to always say you had to include was basically a purpose line. What are you doing here? Well, if I'm applying for a position and I send a resume there, you already know what I'm doing. I'm applying for this position, and I have attacked it in my cover letter why I think I'm a fit for that. So I personally have eliminated that. I think that's kind of wasted space in a resume. But summarizing my skills and qualifications, what my education is, professional highlights, again, my most recent position right here. I don't have the second page to my resume, but that has where I was at previously, as well as Double Eagle, and then basically like industry associations, affiliations, positions within industry associations, that type of thing. But you can see some of the things here. Again, there's a million ways to skin a cat. It's more showing your organizational skills. And okay, are you applying for a property that's pure POA? Well, for me personally, they're probably not going to want me because I haven't worked at a POA course, with POA greens in probably 16, 18 years. I'd probably have a course with POA greens with dead greens by mid-July. It's just not my forte. I have more of a bent grass background. So, okay, I'm showing here's the type of bent grasses we have at our present facility. Okay, where I was at before. Okay, here's the type of bent grasses we had there. So, and just different aspects. Okay, do they have a rainbird irrigation system? Do they have a Toro irrigation system? Do they have a Hunter? So when you're putting that information in front of, again, this is more a little bit higher level superintendent wise, but it also works for assistant positions as well. Okay, this individual, hey, they've worked with rainbird irrigation systems. Okay, they have a working knowledge of this. All right, how much do they know? Okay, I'll make some notes here. I want to ask them some questions during the interview. Okay, what have you all done with a rainbird system? What type of controllers did you have? Okay, what repairs, what programming work have you done through their central control platforms? Things like that.
They're gonna get down to brass tacks, whether that's the superintendent interviewing for assistants or a selection committee. It's going to be more of at a high level Reader's Digest version, because obviously that stuff is way over their heads. But just different things to think of there. Again, there's a million ways to skin the cat, but it's different things to think about. Big thing with resumes, doesn't matter how much you're doing, never ever have it go over 2 pages. Never have it go over 2 pages. Right now, the majority of everyone on here should probably be at 1 page, maybe a little over 1 page, depending on the amount of background you have in the industry. But never go over 2 pages. You again, as your work history gets deeper and deeper, like where I interned at or where I worked in high school and college, I just have that in there. Such and such Shawnee Country Club, 2000 to 2003, seasonal grounds crew member. Just real simple. Don't have that take up space, valuable space, because as you get more into the industry, that space is going to become more and more valuable on your resume. Moving more into phone interviews. Again, this is process driven. How are you going to make yourself successful? Even if it's a phone interview, not like a Zoom interview or Skype interview or GoToMeeting interview. Put yourself in a quiet room, dress, act, and hold yourself as if you're there in the in-person interview. Doesn't matter if you're in your pajama pants, but put a coat and tie on. Put dress clothes on. Be ready for the interview. Have things squared away, and all your outside interferences, like we were talking about before we got on here about Penn State's game Saturday. My group chat from all my buddies from Penn State, they've just been blowing up nonstop since the game Saturday, just venting. So, block that out. My cell phone's in another room right now. Be prepared. Go through the interview. Be ready. Okay, your interview's at 4:00. Be ready by 3:30. Ready to rock and roll. Have a glass of water there to keep yourself hydrated, because even though I said, be relaxed, be excited about the interview process, you're going to be a little on edge there. So you might get a dry throat. Make sure you have some water there. Being prepared, have your resume, your cover letter laid out. Again, being prepared too with an interview, you should have a good understanding of some of the low-hanging interview questions that they're going to go through. Like if you're going for your interview, one of the things everyone always asks, all superintendents, we always ask the same thing. Why'd you get into this business? What interests you? What do you enjoy about this business? And whatever you do, don't say it's because you enjoy being outside. Don't do it. Everyone's heard that. Again, separate yourself. There's a reason, there's a why that got you into this business. And it's much more focused than being outside. We all love being outside. Get to the point better with that. Stump speech. It's your time. They're gonna most interviewers are gonna kind of break the ice with you. Whoever it may be. Tell us about yourself. What makes you you? And have that stump speech. 30 seconds or less. You don't want to drone on. You're past 30 seconds, you've lost them. So you want to be concise, be to the point. Me personally, mine revolves around the fact that, okay, I grew up, one side of my family was very heavy into agriculture and farming. I grew up on an apiary, which beekeeping. I grew up on a very large beekeeping farm, the one side of my family. The other side of my family was big into golf, and they built a small 18-hole mom and pop golf course. So the two worlds met. That I love agriculture and everything about it, and I love the game of golf. Started playing when I was 6, and I've never gotten tired of it since. And started working on the golf course at age 13. Picking up cigarette butts and been hooked ever since. Just something small. You're gonna engage them and just show that you're thirsty, show that you're hungry, that you're gonna get after it, that you understand it, that you want this job, that you know inside and out, anything and everything to be a valuable part of this operation and this team. One of the big things I thoroughly enjoy with interviews, and again, this ties back with how are you going to control the interview? There's a lot of times questions are asked that aren't the true question. A lot of times we'll ask a question, whether it be for an intern or assistant position, or you get asked it a lot as a superintendent position. Is what your last position you were at? What did you like about that position? But more so, what didn't you like about it? They're not. The interviewers really don't care what you didn't like. They're looking to see if you are a true team player. Did you throw your previous employer under the bus, or did you say, "Hey, XYZ, I didn't really like at first. I didn't understand why we were doing it, but I took the time and I talked to the assistants about the position and or the superintendent, and I got a very good understanding of why we were doing things the way we were, and it led me to understand more so the whole picture of why we were doing it, and I gained a new appreciation of that." So you took that negative question and turned it into a positive. Those are some of the big things. It's a question within a question, and a lot of that just comes with interviewing experience and seeing those things. And again, the job posting, have that as your kind of guiding scale with things. A lot of times, when questions are asked, excuse me, in an interview, tie them back whenever you can to core touch points of the job posting. That'll help you. Again, one of the biggest things, even if it's not mentioned in a job posting, communication is everything. It is everything within our industry. The turf and the agronomy, yes, it's beyond vital. But at the same time, as you gain more and more experience, you can filter through those kind of things very quickly. Communication is everything. So, having that good communication point is big. Renovation experience, okay, they're looking for that. Okay, tie some of the answers they're asking about things back to your renovation experience. Okay. Again, I brought up bent grass versus POA. Tie some of your answers. Okay, they're a bent grass facility. How are you going? We've got greens that are failing. They're bent grass greens that are failing. How are you going to get those bent grass greens to the level that we expect, that our members expect, and within budgetary parameters? How are you going to do that? And what's the time frame? XYZ. Go through things. Get down to the nitty gritty of how you're going to attack things. And a lot of it, your questions, again, goes back to creating standard operating procedures in how you apply for a job, how you interview for a job, how you conduct yourself, and how you do things in the present operation of everything you do in life. Getting very organized and standardized with things helps to format yourself for those things. And a simple, just old school, simple thing, you always follow up with a handwritten thank you. It's old school, but do it. It is imperative. It's just 2 sentences. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate the interview. Hope to be a part of the team here soon. Sign XYZ. Whatever it may be, just a small handwritten thank you. In person, you do an in-person, especially on Zoom or GoToMeeting or whatever. It's even more challenging right now, but you have to have your body language and attire in line. Again, like I said, doesn't matter if you're in pajama bottoms, but have yourself very presentable. Look like you're ready. You mean business for the interview, and your body language. Sit up straight. Be engaged. Be aware of everything going on there. If it is an in-person interview, again, body language there, presentation, wear a suit. Doesn't matter what position you're going for. Intern, assistant, superintendent, wear a suit. You take your career seriously, you take the education that you're investing in seriously, show it. Show that employer that you mean business, that you are that person for the position. And body language. Okay, if you're at a conference table, don't lean up and lean across. Simple things like that, that can come across as being very aggressive. Don't cross your arms. Don't lean back. Don't slouch. Just simple little things that portray yourself in a negative manner. Think of your body language. Again, it's thinking of what you're doing, what you're saying, and how it can be perceived by others. Keep those in mind. A lot of it here. Again, just kind of tying back with some of those pictures there. Biggest key though in an in-person interview, listen. Don't just hear the questions being asked. Listen, engage yourself. A second or two of silence to collect your thoughts before you answer is okay. It's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. Be positive. Again, what I talked about with taking a negative question and turning it into a positive moment. That engages people even more. Smile. Just you're happy. You're happy to be there. You're excited to be there. You want the position. Show it. Get to the point. Don't get off subject or ramble on. Again, this goes back to your stump speech. If it's more than 30 seconds, it's too much. Get to the point. Don't waste time. Don't waste just speaking time. You want to get to the point. Keep those people engaged that you're interviewing with. I briefly spoke to this before. In-person interviews, if you get to an in-person interview, the person or the people that you're interviewing with have already vetted your agronomic skill set, so on and so forth. They know you can do the job. In-person interviews are through and through, they are personality fit test. Is your personality going to fit that operation, that club, that membership, whatever it may be? You have to see that. That club has to see that. Again, though, don't be fake. Be honest. Myself personally, I had been on several superintendent interviews and been offered a couple positions that clubs that I just said, look, you know what? Great club. I'm not a fit though. I'm not a fit. My personality isn't a fit. And I'm not going to do this membership justice. And it's going to be stressful for the membership, stressful for the operational team. And it's going to be stressful for myself. So I'm not a good fit for the whole operation here. And the club was better off for it. I was better off for it. So you have to look at those things, both sides. I briefly spoke to it before. You control the dialogue in an interview, how you answer questions, how you set yourself up. Again, the questions within an answer, questions within a question. Tie your answers back to the questions. Whoever you're interviewing with, whether it's the superintendent, assistants, for an internship or an assistant interview, or when you get to superintendent interviews, the selection committee, know those people inside and out, know who they are, know where they went to school, know their background of where they worked, what are their real strong suits, know them inside and out, front to back, back to front, because then you can tie answers with who they are and what they do in a lot of ways. You're going to know if someone, based on certain, basically where they went to school on some things, you're going to know, is that person, as well as what they do, and as well as with everything social media now, hey, is this person very open-minded? Is this person very to the point, concise? Are they kind of a pit bull? You can find a lot of these things out and how to engage that person even more so in your interview process. It lets you control the line of questions. You can set yourself up for the next question by the way you answer one question. Answering about bunker maintenance, because one of the members really is all about pristine bunkers. Okay, you tailor your answer to one question about a situation in regards to that. Tailor your answer to that, and that person will be like, hey, you know what? Elaborate more on that. How are you going to do that? And how are you going to do that within budgetary parameters? Just by the way you answered that and answering within that small bit, you've engaged that person that may have been a detractor. You've made them an ally, just like that. You've got that person on board with you, and they will continue to be more engaged in that interview with you. Final interviews, too. This is a little bit more superintendent wise, but some of the things it helps you to understand things when you're going for an assistant position. You need to do a course visit. It's a must. Walk through the operation, meet the operational team. You basically interview that operational team a little bit to see, are you a fit there? Take a look at the operational compound. Unfortunately, there's a lot of facilities that do not have good operational compounds. And okay, is that okay with you? Is that a limiting factor? Just different things now, especially with COVID. Hey, do they have things built out for safety, employee safety, and optimizing efficiency, but keeping everyone safe, keeping the membership safe, things like that. Those are thoughts to have. Go through the budget. What are the present agronomic programs and the capital budget structure and capital budget plans? Go through that, and does it help you if you're going out into an assistance role? Are you going to have the tools to help you to lead a team? Are those tools going to be at your disposal there? Kyle, you briefly alluded to this in regards to portfolios. I just have it as a handout binder. This is a little more higher level for like a superintendent's position, but just having a binder that you don't hand out during your interview or before your interview, you hand it out after your interview. It just kind of has your cover letter, and you have basically a table of contents before it, each tab. Okay, one's your cover letter, references, resume references. For superintendent's role, what's the present budget at the facility? Request that. And then you also have a budget within those same budgetary parameters. You don't want to take the budget that's there and, oh, well, I'm going to increase it by $250,000 and then I can give you what you want. That's not what facilities want to see. You can have those discussions like, hey, in order to get what you as a membership want, this is what we're going to need to do financially, and this is how we're going to do it, XYZ. That's a different discussion to have. And then you create a plan of attack. How are you going to lead managing wise for the first month, 3 months, 6 months, 12, 24 months? And again, communication strategies. One of your biggest things, even as an assistant, your first month, listen to the staff, listen to the other assistants, listen to the superintendent, soak it all in. So then you can be a very integral part of that team where you can use your skills to help be another vessel of success within that operation. Within these management strategies, team building, create an agronomic plan. Some of the things you can do before you even step on site, using Google Earth or Acme Planometer, you can build out budgets for chemicals, for fertilizers based on the acreage of every area on a property. You can do it yourself in an evening. I have my assistants do that. They have things ready to go within budgetary parameters, and it's something that separates themselves. Ask for the standard operating procedures. A lot of clubs, when you get to interviewing for superintendent level positions, a lot of clubs don't have them. Okay, that's when you have a tab showing your standard operating procedures. Here's how we conduct ourselves here at my present facility. And here's how I would integrate that in at XYZ facility. Have a capital replacement plan. Basically, you're not going to know 100% of who, what, when, or why that club needs because every facility is different. but you can create some baseline items in regards to turning over fine mowing equipment, things like that. And just you can always throw in some detail thing that can help separate, hey, this is something that I see for that facility, some low cost addition that creates that brand of that club and gets people in your corner as far as members and selection committees. So some different things to think about there. I talked about a few things, cautionary tales. Again, this is more for superintendent wise, but like one of the things we do at my facility here for assistants, the club pays for professional personal websites. It's awesome for assistants looking to make that next step. Again, it's like it's a more elaborate portfolio, and you can have your resume, your cover letters, whatnot. You can have things more extrapolated on there. Superintendents doing this, you have to be cautious. You want to use some caution again, because if club members find out you're rooting around for other positions, they're going to think you're not invested in their club anymore, and you can lose their trust very, very rapidly. Just within the last year, one of my good friends had warned him with this, and it sure enough, it came back to bite him, and he lost his position at a extremely high-end club. So it's use caution when you get to that level. But for interns going for assistance roles, or assistants going for superintendent roles, it's an awesome asset to have. And once they're built out, they're fairly easy to maintain and fairly low in cost. When you're interviewing for other positions, if you're presently an assistant or a super, always take a step back, unless you're in a very challenging situation or you're making a life move to somewhere else because of family or significant other, or just, hey, I've been worked in the north my whole life, I'm looking to move down to Texas or wherever it may be. That's different. But take a step back, because the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and don't make money your driving force with things. I know you guys are all going to be coming out of college here and everything, but take a step back, because the pay isn't always the largest thing to look at by far. You want to be looking at, hey, does this club, how do they help progress interns to assistants to superintendents? Have they churned assistants into superintendents? What is their progression plan? How have they done this in the past? Does this fit my personality? Does this fit my core values? These are all huge important things to look through. Whatever facility you're at, if you have a great relationship there, that's awesome. I'm not trying to self-promote here. I'm just saying I've very, very fortunate, especially talking with a lot of my classmates from back at Penn State. Some of them are in challenging situations where they're frustrated with this board member or this challenge or this budget shortfall or whatever it may be. I feel very, very fortunate that I have a management team that I work with, and a board of directors and a membership that they're by and large behind us, and they take care of us very well and pretty much get us anything and everything we want or need, because they see the benefits of it. They see the progress of things. So you cannot be complacent with those things. As an assistant, as a superintendent, this is just career 101. You cannot be complacent with it, because trust can fade and erode very, very quickly. And especially now as a society, since we're a much more opportunistic and instantaneous reactionary society, that trust can fade even more rapidly. So staying at the forefront and keeping your hand on the pulse of whatever organization or club you're at is imperative for your future and your well-being. Okay, just tying everything back together. I talked a lot about standard operating procedures, communication, everything. It ties back to one word, and that's listening. Don't just hear what's said, whether you're in class, whether you're in an interview, whether you're working within an operational team presently. Don't just hear it, listen and ingrain yourself in that. There's a lot that can be learned from just sitting back and listening. Don't always have to interject some thought, some idea. Um, there's a lot that can be learned from that. I like to tell the story of my two assistants presently because I fit them and brought our other assistant on board because he was polar opposite of my lead assistant. My lead assistant is what we like to call him Tony Dungy. He's quiet strength. He's the person that he's not always a lot said, but that operational team of ours will go through heaven and hell with him. And he's grown leaps and bounds in the boardroom. My assistants do all the Greens Committee presentations, whereas our other assistant, Tim, is strong operationally, but not as strong as Kevin. And he's much more of the boardroom. He is so fluid and so smooth in the boardroom. So, but they've listened, they've taken the time and dropped their egos, and they've spent the last 2 years really bonding and listening and learning from each other. A lot can be learned from that. I talked standard operating procedures, everything you do, interviewing, preparing, standardize it. You go to search for jobs, okay, you get done with class, you get done with work, whatever it may be, okay, from 5 to 5:30, before I get ready to make dinner, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to go through websites to look at job postings to see if there's anything that interests me, if I'm looking to make that next step. Or now a lot of you guys are, guys and gals are looking to take that next step to an intern or an assistant. And so you're looking at jobs there. So staying disciplined. Discipline equals success. Discipline in every single thing you do is imperative. It creates avenues, it creates freedom to go after that job you want, to build those relationships that are help you get that job you want. All those things are key. Again, stay disciplined. One of the things many of you students are coming out in the time frame, like I said, you have amazing opportunities at your fingertips. The biggest thing still in this business, out prepare everyone. You're going to be going against other individuals that are just as smart, maybe smarter. But how are you going to separate yourself? You're going to out prepare. You're going to be outwork them and be out. It sounds terrible, but out organize them of how you're applying for that job, how you're catching someone's eye, and how you're interviewing for that job. Be prepared for the unexpected questions because they come about. Those are the fun ones. That really is fun to attack those unexpected questions because you can take a second. You're like, hey, you know what? That's a great question. How am I? And you just take a second to collect your thoughts. And sometimes it's okay to say, you know what? I don't have a great answer for that right now. Let me get back to you. If you don't mind, I will get back to you. I will, whoever the lead person is for the interview, let me get back to you later tonight because I want to collect my thoughts on that question a little bit. That's okay to say. There's nothing wrong with that because it shows you don't just shoot from the hip and try to just spew some rubbish. Get to the point. Get organized. Have your ducks in a row before you're going to answer a question like that. I said it earlier, more than anything, have fun. Enjoy it. It's your future. Don't stress over it and just enjoy it. It's a lot of fun going through the interview process because you know what? It's pretty awesome to know that you're wanted, to know that someone is intrigued by about having you join their team. That's a lot of fun, and that's pretty darn powerful stuff for your self-confidence. Live your life, enjoy it. So with that, I appreciate your time. I'm going to drop this presentation off of here. If there's any questions, Love to take them.
I have a question for you, Ross.
Shoot.
Can you see me? First of all, thank you. This is very informative. When we were talking, you were talking about the resume and posting, you know, your last 3, you know, jobs and describing them. I've worked in this industry for about 12 years, but 8 years ago, I took time off and I worked a different job for about 3 years. And then I came back into the industry. With that gap, would it be better to just not mention it and have them ask me, or go ahead and put it down and, you know, just how would they look at that?
That's a very good question, Tanner. That's a challenging one. If you have the room within your resume to do that all within 2 pages, put it on there. Put it on there, have it on there. If not, you can have something like left industry for X amount of years for XYZ, something like that. I would recommend, again, for me, honesty is everything. So if you can have that on there, that I would try to do that at all costs, even if it's just one sentence that you have from 2008 to 2012. XYZ company, position held. That's it. It just really short, brief, simplified, but you have that in there. So, okay, it shows that, hey, you don't have an employment gap, which most employers are going to be like, hey, you know, Tanner, saw an employment gap. Well, what happened here? What was going on? You know, there's some human resource steps you got to be careful of asking potential candidates that, but at the same time, you have every right to, as an employer, to ask why. Most employers are just going to ask, but I'm always one, be transparent, have it out in front of you if you can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Nope. Any other questions?
Ross, I had a comment,
Comments?
not so much a question. You mentioned the thing about, you know, assistants and interns looking for jobs, having websites, and how beneficial that could be, but how, you know, you got to be cautious as a superintendent. And I ran into this case about 7 or 8 years ago with a superintendent, and they came up with a great answer, like a great response to it. And it was like, I have to put myself out as a professional to recruit the best people into our position. And without having the website and showing all that I'm doing and all that we're doing, then I feel like we're not going to be able to recruit the best. And so I don't know if it's a good answer for his club, but it was an answer. Right?
I think
Like
it's a brilliant answer.
He justified it. So like, these are those things that you talk about in terms of like asking questions, and the questions aren't always lined up to, you know, they're not looking for the answer to the questions, but they're looking how do you respond to those questions. And I thought that was a good response.
Yeah, I agree with you, Doc. I think that's a phenomenal response. And it, you know, and if you're in a face-to-face interview, they're going to be able to tell if you're being genuine or if you're just throwing a line of BS at them. So I think that's a great answer. Questions?
Yes, hi, I have a question. Okay, so
Hey, Adrian.
hey, great presentation. I really appreciated that. I feel like I'm a
Thank you.
great worker and a great asset to the crew, but I don't feel strong, you know, when I go into an interview. I don't feel like I perform well. And one of the things that I carry with me into the interview process is like being a military spouse, an active duty military spouse. We move a lot. And I know that most superintendents are kind of looking at a bigger picture. And my problem going in is like being able to tell them that I won't be there very long, but also trying to make it seem like an advantage rather than a disadvantage. Like I haven't figured that out yet.
That's a good one, and that's a very good challenging answer there. What do you guys have a set interval where you're moving, like every 18 months or 2 years?
It's every 3 years. We just moved to Germany. Actually, I got here yesterday. So
Wow. Okay.
every 3 years.
That's a big move.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's something, again, to the transparency point, you can say, over in Europe, they're much more open-minded with in regards to that, because you're dealing with a society over there where they'll move much more fluidly than here stateside. So Europe-wise, I don't see that as an issue. Just being transparent with whatever facility it's at. But just being honest, like, hey, this is my family situation. It's very important to me, but this I'll be here for about 3 years. I'm looking to be a very, very valuable part of your team, but here's what I would like to get out of my experience here to help push this club to the next level, but also push me to the next level as well. And that's something too, you can filter through who you're interviewing with. Again, it's more, you're actually interviewing them. Really, really drill down on that hard. Drilling down on them, and it comes down to body language, answers. Is it something that's more or less a yes or no question, and they take 5-6 sentences to ramble something out? It's BS. They're not getting to the point of that. Doc, I know you like that answer. If they're rambling on about something like that, they don't have an answer for you. They're trying to smooth talk you. So really dial in on those kind of things, and that's seeing how they answer something you have a question with, but being honest and transparent with a possible employer and saying, hey, I really have a great passion for this industry and love what I do. This is the kind of family situation that my spouse, significant other, has, and we're very committed to this. So if I would be a possible part of your team, this is what I can commit to at this time. And being transparent with that's something you can do there. And the biggest thing, one thing I completely forgot, whatever any of you do when you're interviewing for a job, the most important thing is you ask for the job when you're finished the interview. You ask for the job because you're there, you want the job, you ask for it, period.
I had some follow-up to that as well for you, Adrian. Are you always traveling overseas, or is it within the United States?
It's both.
So my thought would be, a few thoughts would be, one, you could set yourself up as being like an amazing assistant for people that, maybe they're not going to hire you as the superintendent because you're saying I'm only going to be there 3 years and they don't want to commit. But most clubs are going to have an assistant that, they would hold in high regard if you became that kind of go-to person. Second, you may look at getting in with management companies that have courses scattered throughout either the United States or the world. I think like Discovery Land Golf and Troon, TPC Network. If you bounce around a lot, if you're a valuable employee to that company, a lot of times they're fine with that because they can just shift you to a course that's in their area. So that could be something else that you could look into. So, and the last thing I was going to ask is, where in Germany are you now?
I'm in Hohenfels, Germany.
Is that like Berlin, or is that like Southwest, or what?
It's like Southwest Bavaria.
Okay. I think Jacob, who's in here and is hidden, I think he's looking at doing an internship over in that area for the summer. So one of my former students from a couple years ago got a job. I don't know, Jacob, if you could unmute yourself. I don't know the name of the course, but somewhere in that Southwest Germany area.
Okay, thank you for the tips. I appreciate it.
Other questions?
Hey Ross, it's Brian Glukowski. I got a question. Is there a minimum amount a person should spend in an assistant position before you might start looking towards making that next step?
That's a good question. I don't necessarily think so, but it's more than anything, there's kind of I guess I would say a red flag if someone's been an assistant for too long and they're looking to make it a jump to superintendent. I shouldn't say a red flag. That's not the right term. It's an employer's going to ask why. They're going to ask, okay, you've been at XYZ club for this amount of time. What have you enjoyed there, and what's the reason there? And they're not really asking that. They're wondering, why have you been at that facility for a while? Or if you've only been at a facility for like a year, employer's going to ask, what's driving this? Say like Adrian brought up a great point. Okay, why are you looking at moving? Well, because we had to move countries for for our family. Okay, that's a very valid situation and reason. More than anything, I look at it like when I hired course superintendents and whatnot in Virginia, and now just things like that is more so when you're looking, say, to take that step to superintendent. One of the best things to go through, in all honesty, is if you can go through kind of a prep process with someone like Tim Morgan with Aspire Golf Consulting or Armin Sooney. They are going to put you through the ringer.
Right.
And so they're basically going to sift through, do you have the agronomic knowledge and skill set to take that next step, and the communication skills to be able to handle the member PR side of it, or municipality or constituent PR side of it. That's more what it is. There has to be a comfort level there. So I think it's all depending on the candidate, and maturity and organizational skills. I went after my first superintendent's job when I was 24. Wasn't even close to being ready. Not even close.
Right.
That was a hot mess. To Adrian's point, Adrian, you'll probably get a big kick out of this. My first superintendent's interview, and this is a lesson on what not to do. Final three interview, Doc, I think you and I have talked about this before. I was a nervous wreck. 2 hours before the interview, I slammed 2 shots of Jack Daniels before it because I was hot mess. The worst thing ever to do. And
I don't
but I
recommend
learned
that.
from it.
I don't
Yeah,
recommend
exactly.
that.
Don't do that. So, but I learned from it as I was like, why am I so nervous? I know my material. I know what I'm doing. So I had to self-evaluate. That's the biggest thing, Brian, is
Okay.
self-evaluating where your skill set is, where your communication skills are. If you're looking to make that next step, whatever it be, intern to assistant, assistant to lead assistant, assistant to course superintendent, assistant to superintendent, whatever it may be, is assessing those things.
Yeah, your boss should help you out with that a lot too. I know, like when I worked with Schaefer at Marion, and they had their assistants going for positions. I mean, not only did Schaefer work with them, like the members work with them, right? They put them through interviews, mock interviews. You'll find out, whether you're ready for it or not, and your boss should be able to help you with that a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Doc's absolutely right. Well, we do the same thing here. Twice a year, we go through mock interviews, have 8 members, and both my assistants, and we do the same thing with golf pros and sous chefs as well from the culinary team. Just putting them through the ringer, because our membership is very, very invested in helping people to that next step. They enjoy that. So that's another thing when you're going to that next step, is look at that organization as, hey, are they invested in helping people? So
Okay. Thanks.
Number of facets there.
Also, tell Tim and Kevin I said hello.
Will do. Will
So,
do, Brian.
All right.
Any other questions, comments?
Time to go watch the
Yep.
cluster that is today's election and drink lots of beers. That's what the time is right now.
Well,
Yeah.
if nobody has any other questions, Ross, thank you for taking the time out of your day to talk to us. There's a lot of good information that I know I took in, just getting ready for my last internship and kind of thinking what can I work on and improve on. So I can only imagine what other students are thinking. But
Yeah,
I just want
no
to say
worries.
thank you.
No worries. No worries. My pleasure, my honor. One thing, if anyone does have any interest, I do have kind of it's like 85 questions of like questions to be prepared for when you get to like an assistant or superintendent interview. Doc, but
Send
I'd
'em
be
my
more
way.
than willing to help. Yep, there you go. More than happy to help anyone out, anyone at all. So
And
best
Ross,
of luck to everyone. Have a safe and happy holiday season coming up and the rest of 2020, and best of wishes on your career path. If there's anyone that has any questions again outside of this, just get in touch with Kyle or Dr. Kaminsky. They'd be more than happy to pass my contact info along.
and Ross, just to plug your contact information, where can we find you on social media?
I'm on Twitter at ccdetroit at ccdetroitgcs is my Twitter handle. I'm not on Instagram, Facebook. I check it maybe once a month. I leave Facebook to my wife.
Alrighty. Well, I will stop the recording here. Stop cloud recording.